Hello and welcome to this episode of Self-Made. I'm your host, Dee Brown. Today's guest needs no introduction. He's an actor, producer, singer, and he's the star of the hit TV show, Webster. Please help me welcome Emmanuel Lewis to Self-Made. Emmanuel, man, I'm so glad to have you, man.
Thank you so much, Dee Brown CEO. I love it.
Absolutely, man. I know this is going to be a great episode. I want to jump right into it because I know you got some great nuggets you're going to share with us today, man.
Love it.
I want to jump in. You started your career at a very, very early age.
Yes.
So most people at the age that you started are still, being nurtured by their parents and, but you were out making it happen for you and your family.
Right.
Talk to me about your early years and what it was like.
Wow. So it was, it's happened so fast, right? Like, so we started off I started at 9, right? And a gentleman by the name of Rathel Bean, and he was he's an actor, and he does a lot of shows, Broadway, and daytime soap stuff like that,
yeah.
and he's got an awesome career, and he just came into the hood one day, and I wasn't familiar with seeing people from the Caucasus Mountain come in the hood as often as he did. And he was just jogging. We used to have a place called Pratt Institute. And that's when I met him, and I just wanted to ask him a bunch of questions. I didn't know who he was, and and he didn't necessarily know who I was.
You just curious why he was there.
I was just really curious why I was there because it's mostly Black and Hispanic. And here's this guy who's just probably lived only 2 blocks away, but that's like light years,
right.
when you're living in the projects, right? Yeah. And so I just wanted to ask him questions. What does he do? And does he come here often? And it was like, somebody coming into your planet,
Right.
And he just thought that was very peculiar and started asking me questions. And then when he did that, I was like, well, I'm not supposed to talk to I'm not supposed to talk to strangers. As long as I was asking all the questions,
good.
We were good, right? So, of course, he thought that was funny and crazy. And I was like, well, if there's any decision, making need to be had, well, you would have to come speak, have to call Mom.
Yeah. And
of course he did, and he invited me out to this audition that one of his friends was doing, and it was for Campbell Soup. So I was excited because, what kid doesn't like Campbell Soup, right? And so we got there to this audition, and they had me something to read, and I had never been to an audition before. I didn't know what, what's the protocol or anything, and he said, read this. And, in our school, we did quiet reading. So I got the paper, and I just started quietly reading. I didn't know I was supposed to read out loud, what I mean? So I started doing some quiet reading, and it was like, well, are you going to read? Yeah, I'm reading, and, I'm a cocky, kid, and he's like, can you read? And I took offense to this as a kid. I kind of took offense, and I was like, yeah, I can read. But you said this is something about a Campbell Soup commercial, and this looked like something about peanut butter. You going to fool nothing over a Brooklyn kid now, you know what I mean? Peanut butter and Campbell Soup are worlds apart.
Right.
And so he was like, well, we just want to see you read out loud. And I did. And then, they started doing something for the actual commercial dialogue for the actual Campbell Soup, and then all of a sudden, people from behind the screen that I didn't even know was really there.
Yeah.
Someone's like, okay, we want that kid, and that was it. They finished the audition and selected me to do this, and I didn't have any dialogue in that one, but I did some good, and that was
that's all it took.
Yeah, that was all it took. I did another Campbell Soup commercial, and we did a lot, Oshkosh and French's mustard and Jello pudding with Bill Cosby, and just a lot of different. Stuff for kids and food and, what is it, the cereal and clothes and everything, and of course we did Burger King, and the Burger King commercial was the one that we won a Clio Award with, and it also got us known to the president of ABC, and that's when they called us up to California and invited us to sit down and talk about maybe developing a show. So that's, but there's so much more in that period because of time. It's like only about 3 or 4 years that we did about 60 commercials. And we also traveled to Japan.
Wow.
A lot.
Amazing. Here's my question. So you talked about, you got contacted about developing a show.
Yes.
What was that show?
The show was Webster.
Okay.
Absolutely, yeah.
So talk to me about that.
So, you know, it was amazing to be in LA. I had been there once before because we did a Life cereal commercial over at the Disney Ranch. And so I had been to California before for that, but I didn't know much about, you know, California at all. Developing a TV show, you know, I was so new to that, you know, like I've become very familiar with commercials.
Right.
And we had just finished doing, you know, really great tours in Japan and singing, performing, and having a #1 hit single there. So this is like a whole nother chapter of my life by then, you know what I mean?
Right.
I had been, you know, very, very well versed in commercials.
Now, how old are you at this point?
When we started Webster, I was 12.
Okay.
Okay, but I had already done Shakespeare in the Park with Midsummer Night Dream.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'd done 4 commercials for just Japan alone. Did a TV movie in Japan. So we had done a lot of work over there, right? And so to come start Webster, it's like a whole new world. You know what I mean?
Right.
Being on the set. None of the other ones was really on a set. It was, you know, at locations for all really the commercials.
Yeah. Homes,
Restaurants, you know, outside, whatever. So this is the first time me being in a Hollywood studio.
Okay.
This is the very first time of you know, not staying in a hotel, but they had to lease an apartment, you know, and have the driver or, you know, rent a car. And so that was like, okay, this is different. This feels, you know, kind of, you know, big, you know, but not really. As a kid, you don't really understand the magnitude of success and money and fame and stuff like that. I was extremely popular in Japan. But coming back home, I was just regular Joe Schmo again, you know what I mean?
Right.
You know, I had a lot of commercials popping, so that was pretty cool. But Webster was like, it's definitely a different turning point for what I was doing in America.
Yeah.
And then learning lines. You know, we had over 60 pages of lines to learn because you're not only needed to know what you were doing, but you need to know what came before you and what was after you.
And you're young at this time, so it's a
12,
lot.
12, you know what I mean?
So
And I still had a Brooklyn accent, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, you know, it's the New York and just, you know, all of that. So I had a dialogue coach and just helping me to really learn the aspect of doing television. And, you know, we had a 4-camera shoot and, you know, and there's so much history where we were, and the Gower Studios, and you know, the Mary Pickford and stuff like that, from the origins of you know, of Hollywood, and we're right there in the middle of it.
Yeah.
Every time we came out of the studio, we see the Hollywood sign.
Right,
I'm like,
right.
this is only in movies and TVs. It seems so surreal.
Yeah.
And all of that just kind of fed into me taking it very serious and understanding that this is a serious opportunity, and, you know, understanding from all the OGs of Hollywood that would come and communicate with us. From Donahue, we did that talk show, and then we did Johnny Carson, and then we just was meeting all these different people that, you know, kind of helped us to really hone in on, you know, what we're doing and how big it was. And, you know, we're on ABC, we're on a network show. So that's that's big potatoes.
Absolutely. But here's the interesting part about that. You're doing all of this, started at a young age,
Yeah.
but you were still able to go to school and ultimately went to college, Clark
Yes.
Atlanta. How did you navigate that process?
You know, we had school on set. So we first started off having school with the other kids that would come on the show. And then my mom decided, you know, he needs his own tutor because, you know, he's coming in. You know, the other kids probably could stay a little longer because they didn't have as many scenes. But for me, to be able to go to school, crack down on the books, making sure that I got the education exactly where I needed it to be. And Mom was like, you know what, he needs his own tutor and he needs his own space to be able to do that. And so that really helped a great deal. And you don't even realize that until you have that and you realize that. So Mom was a huge component on education and making sure the focus was there. But the focus was definitely there for the acting and that because it was, you know, coming from Brooklyn, coming from the projects, coming from all that, you know, you have so much pride in going home and being in that environment, right? Yeah. But then you learn that there's so much more, you know?
Right.
And where I'm coming out of was poverty. But you know, back in the day, we didn't know that it was poverty.
Right.
You know,
right.
we just thought Mama was stingy with the purse strings.
Holding back
you know
on me, Ma.
Yeah, right. Because she had money for bills. How come you don't got money for all this other stuff? We had no idea that she was budgeting and you know working her butt off. So, but you understood that this is something beautiful and you just understood the seriousness of it all. And I was never thinking about popularity. I was never thinking about being popular at all. I was never thinking about the money. You know, we had great people to take care of that, right?
Yeah.
For me, I didn't want to disappoint, you know, my family.
Yeah.
That to me was everything. You know what I mean? I didn't want to misstep. You know, let's keep it 100, bro. You know, we mess up one time. We don't get too many opportunities to come back.
Right.
So that was very understood in my head about, you know, what's going on and, you know, if something happens, you know.
But the amazing thing about it is you understood it at such an early age.
And I don't even understand how I understood it that way, but I did.
Yeah, because there's some people my age that don't understand it. Literally. So that's amazing.
Right,
just to hear you talk about it and, you know, of course you're talking today from your current perspective, but when you really put it in perspective, you know, you were a child.
I was
and
a
so
kid.
to hear you really talk about how you grasped the seriousness of the moment and understood the opportunity that was before you and you didn't want to squander it and have people my age I give opportunities to and they don't care, you know.
No, my mom quit a government job to allow me to follow my career. And I don't know, it's from then to even now. Every year I'm more amazed at that decision.
Right.
Because there was no certainty whatsoever that was going to be the best decision. But she just like, you know what, I believe in my son and I can see how serious maybe he takes it. I always think about what was going on in her mind to do that. But I respected it and I was like, Mom, I'm not going to let you down. I'm not going to, you know, we're not going back the way we were before. And not that it was horrible, but, you know, I know one thing, we were living better now than we were then, right?
Right, you knew something had happened.
Christmas was looking real good, you know what I'm saying? You know, and birthdays and holidays and, you know, travel. So doing the show was great. And we got a chance to do Ben Vereen, I mean, come on, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And working with all the great people in Hollywood and meeting all the people from all the shows. When you do a network, you meet all the people from all the other shows.
Right.
that was crazy. I mean, here I am on this set. Behind me is, the Happy Days over there.
Yeah.
And Shoney Love Shotzi over there. And Cheers is over here.
Right.
Solid Gold was over there. And then Arsenio Hall was over there.
Right.
So I'm like, Eddie Murphy was down that way, and Pee Wee Herman was over there. Star Trek was on the other side of the lot. So there was so much history that was around us. Leaving that in a bad way was never going to happen on my watch. I knew to be smart enough to, okay, when we get here, it's business.
Wow. So I want to pivot for a second and ask a very serious question. When did you become a party animal?
I love that one.
You know, tell me about this Tom Joyner celebrity cruise stuff I hear about. You know, they didn't have TMZ back then, so it never made.
Okay, so check this out. Every year, we would have the rap party, as you're very well familiar with, and that rap party was lit, right? And I'm like, we would. Oh my God, we just started dancing and vibing. It was just so awesome, right? And then, we started getting more invitations to go here, and we're crashing parties. And I remember I was with Bill Bray, the head security of MJ, right? And he says, come on, come on, Joker, old school, right? So, come on, Joker, we're going to crash this party. I didn't know which party he was talking about crashing. We were in New York. We crashed Aretha Franklin's party. She had just finished singing Carnegie Hall, sold out for I don't know how many nights straight. And he's like, we're going to go crash a party. I'm like, okay, that's what I'm talking about. So we just had so many unique situations that we could get the party started off with, And then, to party with a purpose. I mean, you know what I mean?
Nothing like a party with a purpose.
There's nothing like a party with a purpose. That's Tom Joyner all day. And of course, he's doing wonderful things to give money to HBCU, which is at my heart and it's at your heart.
Right.
But we had some situations in that doggone ship. I mean, those are the best times.
You mentioned MJ, so talk to me about how did you meet Michael Jackson?
We also had some good parties with MJ. Like, we went to different clubs, and of course, everybody wants to see him dance, right? And enjoy. But those are all great moments, of literally being around and in the midst of meeting his whole entire family. And I remember meeting his brothers in New York at the, what was that hotel that we met right there near Central Park, Tavern on the Green. And that's where we got a chance to meet his brothers along with Don King.
Really? And
as well as Sophia Stewart, who was the creator of the Matrix.
Yeah.
So so many great moments being on tour with him. I wasn't performing.
What do you remember about the first time you met Janet?
Oh my God! So the first time I met Janet was hilarious. So he was like, come to my house. I want you to meet my mom, and my family. And so me and my brother Chris was coming to the house to go, check out, his crib, because we always heard that he had some zoo animals, and, and I was really afraid of the snake. And believe it or not, that song that Diana Ross sings, I Want Muscles, she's really talking about the snake. The snake name was Muscles.
Oh, really?
Right. So I was not really looking forward to seeing Muscles, okay? Or the monkey. But we didn't play with animals like that where I was from. So I go into the kitchen, and they had some really good music on in the house, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay. So I'm stopping so I can drop a little bit, you know what I mean? And I'm enjoying the dance, and then all of a sudden in the distance coming toward me was Janet, and she's dancing too. I guess she already saw that I was, getting ready to, put some time in on that floor, right? And she started dancing, and she started doing what I was doing. She's like, "Oh, yeah, see, you can do the snake." I said, "Yeah, I can do the snake." She's like, "Can you take it to the back?" I'm like, yeah, I can take it to the back. You know what I mean? And so we just danced, and then we hugged, and yeah, that's how I met Janet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just in the kitchen, you know?
But now, I heard a story that you had a shortcut you would take on the cruise ships to make sure you was the first one at the party.
Yeah, you had to be smart on those cruise ships because the main doors are closed until the performance starts. But that line is like literally down the ship. I mean, everybody wants to see all the main artists that they had on the show. I mean, we had Gerald Levert. We've had everybody that somebody was on the doggone ship. And I was like, I can't compete with that line. But good thing I'm a HBCU grad.
That's where your innovation kick in.
That's when the innovation kicks in, right? So I started using the service entrance on the ship to get from one side to the other. And then I would literally go all the way to the other side, coming through the backstage, and then I could find whatever seat I wanted anywhere on the ship. And I'm just chilling, cooling the gang, bars already open, and yeah, I'm able to chill out. So by the time they open the door, I've already, located. I never wanted to be in the first two rows, but I just wanted to be on the wing. You know what I mean? Those are some of the best seats to me.
Now, you mentioned Clark Atlanta.
Yes.
Talk to me how you were able to manage career and college, because you were able to go back and graduate with a degree.
Yes.
In theater arts, right?
Yes. So we've literally finished Webster the same year I went to college, my first semester. And that was very unique for me because I had never stopped working to go to school, ever. They were always hand in hand. But now my work is in 7 states over, and I'm here in Atlanta going to school. And I'd done a lot of specials and, different projects, live performances and stuff everywhere. So I'm just trying to figure out how I'm going to do this because I've been the breadwinner for my family, for a very long time. To stop is, could be detrimental. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, we got stuff in the bank, but we was never putting that much pressure on that. You know what I mean? It's all about getting the next money. You know what I mean? The new money. You know what I mean? This year's money.
Right.
So I decided that, okay, the only way that it made sense for me was to go to school the fall semester and then work the spring semester, because that's when, a lot of the pilots and stuff was being created and, stuff like that was going on. Right. And also, sweeps and, different stuff like that. So it just made sense that if I'm going to work, I can work this other part of the year, and then I could take off this other part of the year.
Right.
And so I did that for a few years, and then I'm like, man, I'm never going to graduate at this rate. So then I was like, you know what, I'm just going to have to buckle down. There's enough right now for me to chill and, be able to do what I'm doing, putting myself to school. I put my brother through school, my sister through school. So I'm like, okay, we're good. Let me go ahead on and knock this out. So I started taking 21 hours, 22 hours, both semesters to finish up in my last piece of the junior year, last 3 semesters, second junior year and my full senior year. And we had to get out of there and complete that task.
But since that time, you've become an advocate for HBCUs.
Yes.
Just briefly tell me about that and why you're so passionate about HBCUs.
It's something about an HBCU education that is part of the experience. It's part of the American experience. And I know it's a black college and universities that are very unique in our social structure, but that's Americana. It's just as much Americana as apple pie because we had no place else to go before those schools were there. And there's no reason for them to go because now we have options. Because having teachers to understand us and having an environment that know how to communicate and allow us to be able to find out who we are. a lot of kids that go to school now, they still don't know who they are yet.
Right.
You know what I mean? They don't know where their passion lies. They don't even know how to find that. So you kind of need somebody that's on your same vibration.
Right.
You know,
right.
the same energy, the same, background to help us to make those decisions. And it really makes a difference when I know that you know what the deal is,
Right.
and how we can better help each other.
Right.
And
right.
it's family. These are parents. These are
Right.
aunties and uncles. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
and I'll say this, everything you described is 100% accurate because, I attended an HBCU for a
Yes.
year and I had the same experience. Emmanuel, it's been great, man. It's been great having you on the show. I appreciate it. To my viewers, thank you for watching this episode of Self-Made. And remember, without you, there's no me.